Hello, it's Matt at Auto Fault Finder. I just thought I'd do a little video showing how the Gen 4 Haldex coupling works. This is fitted to Volkswagen Audi Group vehicles between 2009 and about 2014, and it's also fitted to all of the Range Rover Evoques between 2012 and 2015, and the Freelanders 2009 through to about 2015. I'd say that this video probably is more directed to the people with Freelanders and Evoques, to try to get them to understand why the scrabbling problem occurs. But we'll just outline all of the components, and the diagram is very helpful because it shows that oil is collected via the pump. It goes through the filter, which has got a one-way return valve in it, and then the oil goes into the N373 valve and also goes into the accumulator pressure regulator, which is what we're going to talk about more. If the valve is open, it allows oil to go to the working piston, which crushes the clutch pack together. If the valve closes, it dumps the oil back into the sump again. This control solenoid is what we call the N373 valve, and if this doesn't close properly, the clutch will be permanently engaged because the working piston will be applying pressure to the plates. But one of the most difficult problems to try to diagnose is a sticking accumulator. But anyway, we'll come to this. We'll give you a better idea of how all the parts work. So this is what you'll normally see on the vehicle. There's an ECU that fits here. The pump is here, which you've all taken that out and cleaned the gauze on those many times. I've taken the O-rings off to make it easy to assemble and disassemble, but oil gets pulled in here, as per the bottom of the diagram, through part number 2, it is on there, which is the strainer gauze, and then the pressurized oil is ejected through this little gallery here, which is between the two O-rings. Now, in the coupling itself, which this will probably be quite hard to get focus on, there's the hole here where the high pressure oil is fed into the valve orifice. So oil is fed right at the bottom of the hole. Well, it's not, it's in this first valve seat here, and then it's controlled between whether it goes to the working piston outlet, which is here, and this pushes the piston in and out. The piston is this component that sits in here, and that has an O-ring on the outside and an O-ring on the inside, and that piston's got quite a lot of surface area, so it will amplify the pressure, by a great deal due to the the surface area. So this has a little spring ring behind it here, which just stops it from floating freely. It means that as pressure is applied, it pushes out, and the clutch itself will push back on the spring. But all of this doesn't really go faulty. This is all very well designed and works incredibly well. So, what does this piston do? The piston pushes upon this clutch pack. So these plates all sit into this basket here. So that working piston pushes on the front face of here, so that crushes the plates together, which are just like a motorcycle clutch, where you've got a sintered plate and a metal plate, and these plates are tubed on the inside, so they take power. So the power is transmitted into the middle of this basket and then transmitted out, so via the teeth on the inside and then via the teeth on the outside. So the basket, these plates sit inside the basket here, and this tubed ring, the splined socket, is where the differential shaft, so this is the output stage and this is the input stage. So you'll see this on the front, and that flange sits, and you see that at the front of the vehicle. Yeah, so your drive shaft comes into here, applies torque through the shaft applies the force to the inside of the clutch basket. When the power is transmitted, it's applied to the outside of the clutch basket, which then goes to the differential. So as per the diagram, that's like that. Things to take note of: there's like a roller bearing assembly on here, and if this collapses, that'll cause you problems. There's a tiny little needle bearing on the inside of here, which the differential shaft sits on. Okay, so let's have a little hand wipe. So the accumulator and the scrabbling problem. So the valve has these orifices, whatever the plural of orifice is. Oil comes in through this gallery here, and if it's ejected through this one, it goes to the piston to clamp the vehicle up, and if it goes to this one, it's ejected back to the sump. Now this valve is not a digitally on or off valve. It is controlled by PWM, so it doesn't have to open fully. It can open and modulate a small amount, so we can gently increase or decrease the transmitted torque through the clutch pack. But this valve relies upon and is calibrated to the system functioning correctly. Now, the accumulator, which you'll only ever see this cap on the outside, and it says danger, do not open, and it's very good advice. The accumulator sits here. It's in a slightly different place in Volkswagen Audis, but it all functions the same. The accumulator underneath the cap has got this very, very, very powerful spring assembly behind it, and the spring assembly, it's got this little sleeve that just keeps everything located and stops the springs from bowing outwards. This is quite a clever little device, this, because not only is it an accumulator, so as it pushes back, it stores force because it is fighting against the springs. Yeah. So this acts like a battery, or a capacitor is a better description. This stores hydraulic energy, force, pressure, for when the valve opens. So the pump doesn't have to run continuously because it's pushed back the accumulator that stores some pressure. But the accumulator also acts as a pressure release valve because it has these very small holes in the side of it. This is a piston within a piston. Okay. Now, this is supposed to push back, and it acts against the force of the spring, which it's a two-part spring, so it's got like two yield points to it. Now it's supposed to push back and store a certain amount of pressure, and once it goes past this stage here, it then ejects the pressure here through these little drilled out orifices, which are outlined in the system diagram here. The oil can come into the accumulator, push back the piston and spring, and then once it gets past a certain point, it gets ejected back to the sump. Now, due to the design of this accumulator on the Land Rover vehicles, which you will have seen the cap here on the side, what happens is gunk builds up and it sits underneath this ring here, and it stops the piston from going all the way back past its little blow-off point. Now, once this gets stuck, this is not just an accumulator, it acts as like a pressure release valve as well, relief valve. Once it sticks, it no longer functions. So the working pressure of the coupling ends up being increased. Now, I believe that the design function of this coupling is supposed to be about 30 to 40 bar, but there is no documentation to say what that working pressure is, to my knowledge. But when I measure the working pressure of one of these sticking Land Rover couplings, they often run at more like 50 to 60 bar. And that means that all of the calculations and the calibration between the ECU and the valve is all offset. So when it thinks it's going to be applying a very small amount of torque, pressure, it actually is applying a hell of a lot more than it should be. Thus, you get that juddering and scrabbling sensation when you're pulling out of junctions. You've locked up the four-wheel drive system permanently, and then as soon as you do it, initiate a turn, we end up with a difference in average speed between the front axle and the rear axle, and that torque has to be dissipated somewhere, which tends to be your inside rear wheel of the car. So as we turn out of the junction, this inside wheel goes skip, 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 and you can see it in the mirror. Now, how can you fix that? Well, it's not particularly easy, because you can't take the accumulator apart. The accumulator has these two shear pins in here, and if you do dare to take these shear pins out, what happens is this spring that's compressed down to half of its force all explodes in front of you and makes holes in your garage ceiling. And so even if you can get it apart and live to tell the tale, your problem is putting it back together again, and without complex tooling, it's very difficult to get the alignment exact as precise to drop this cap into this hole, which there were incidents at the original manufacturer of difficulties with this, an injury on the production line. This is a very, very, very powerful setup once you've applied some sort of hydraulic piston to a press that's going to crush the spring down. If it bows out of the jig, you're going to end up injured of some sort, or the coupling broken. So no one takes these apart. Land Rover sell their Land Rover remanufactured couplings, but they don't take the accumulator apart. And we deal with people on quite a regular basis who have spent their £2,500 on Land Rover replacement couplings, and they still Scrabble afterwards. And it turns out that they've just been sold another faulty coupling. When you're buying service exchange stuff, people are sending back their faulty coupling, and then Land Rover are just selling them out again. They're blasting them so they look clean, giving them a clean out, stripping them down to this point, removing the filter, etc., and washing them out, and then sending them back out. So if you want another faulty coupling, Land Rover can provide you with another Scrabbling coupling more than easily. The filter goes in there, by the way. The oil comes from the pump housing through the filter, and that's another thing to mention. The filters have got a one-way check valve in the end of them. So this little nipple here in the middle is a one-way return valve, and that means that every time the pump runs, it stops. When the pump stops, it stops the accumulator from pushing the oil back into the sump. This one-way return valve has to work correctly, and most of the copy filters on the market, the injection moulding is very poor quality and it doesn't actually seal properly. And we've tested about 800 of the copied filters, and a very, very small number of them actually sealed up properly. So when fitting replacement filters, you need to make sure that they are of proper design standard, which the Borg Warner ones are the original filter, and their tooling is precise, and they must carry out some sort of testing to the filters on the production line, because when we've tested the original ones, none of them leak. So you need to make sure you use a quality filter, none of the spurious names that are selling the Chinese filters from your favourite motor factors. So how do you fix the scrabbling problem? Well, first off, you need to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the valve, because if the valve is sticking or not seating properly, then no amount of this is your problem. So the first stage towards a scrabbling vehicle is replace the valve, but while replacing the valve, obviously carry out a service and replace the filter cartridge and clean the pump out. But while the pump and the filter and the ECU is removed, you need to make sure that you get your air line down these galleries, this gallery here where the pump sits, so you can blow out the feed and blow out this line that's inside the filter housing. yeah, here, and the hole in the bottom, which is where the one-way return valve sits. So oil comes from the pump, and it comes through the one-way valve at the bottom of here, then from the filter into the valve assembly. Now you need to make sure that those orifices, the galleries is probably a better term, are clean. So blow them out with your compressed air line, get some brake cleaner down them, whatever it takes. They need to be debris free. Once it's debris free, fit a replacement filter, a good quality one. Also, some of the copy ones, this part is slightly too big, so you have to force them in, which then you can't get them back out again, and they don't seal and they leak. So again, if the filter's not good quality, you're literally wasting your time. So replace the filter, fit a new valve, and then fill it full of oil, and then drive it. Most people think that they've fixed the problem at this stage because you drive it for the first 10-15 miles and the scrabbling disappears. But that's mostly because you've lost the bleed. So there's air in the accumulator in the hydraulic system, which is spongy. So drive it, make sure you go and clock 15-20 miles on the clock of it. Go and spin the wheels up a few times on it. Use the four-wheel drive system and then see whether the system is fixed or not. More than likely it won't be, but that is the first stage because we have come across quite a few examples with damaged valve seats. So, and the servicing is necessary. If this doesn't fix the problem, the next stage is to send us the Haldex ECU itself, because we can carry out a modification to the control unit that reduces the amount of power that's applied to the valve. We modify the control units just under the standard ECU repair fee, and we call them the Scrabble stopper. But this will not work if there are problems with the valve assembly or the control system. So this Scrabble stopper service only overcomes this sticking accumulator problem, which the vast majority of them have. So make sure you carry out the service properly. Other things of note, make sure you use a proper Haldex oil that's one of the Febby Bilstein products or the Borg Warner product or the VAG Group products. We don't really like the Landrover Haldex oil because it's a copy fluid and it's made by a different company, and they've sourced it from somewhere else, and it doesn't appear to be quite the same fluid. And a lot of people complain about the scrabbling after they've been serviced and they were fine before. So make sure you use a proper Haldex oil, even Volvo branded Haldex oil, and a proper filter, and clean out the pump and stuff while you're at it. So start there, and if you're still scrabbling after the service has been carried out, then send us the control unit. But I hope this gives you a better idea of how the system works. Other things of note are people sometimes complain from a leak around this pinion, the drive input flange. Now, if this surface here has any big indentations or corrosion, it's never going to seal, but you can replace this seal, this front seal, which we list on the website. They're only about 10 quid or something. But other than that, there's not really any parts available for the Haldex coupling, but you don't really need any. This very rarely fails. On occasional example, we've come across people where this bearing's collapsed, and it's normally after having a replacement differential fitted, and obviously someone's damaged it when they've fitted the diff. Also, under very, very, very heavy extreme loads, we've seen clutch plates that have gone all blue. You can always see them when you get them out. These are a nice, silver colour. But if they're more like, this blue colour here, then they're probably all distorted and they'll bite. But you can buy replacement clutch plates that we sell as well, and we sell them individual because they come different Gen 4 couplings have got different numbers of friction discs and plates. So just count the number that you need, and then you can order however many you want. I hope this gives you an overview to the Gen 4 Haldex system, how to overcome the scrabbling problems with Land Rovers, and just a little bit of insight into Gen 4 Haldex. So anyway, goodbye.